The environment has become...
What we're saying is have a heart.
We've got to be able to regenerate our
There'll
economy.
be people who are kind, people who are cruel, but that's life. You can be bigoted about pigeons. I'm fine with that.
Good evening and welcome to Talk About. Tonight we talk about prostitution, which they say is the world's oldest profession, and even in so-called squeaky clean Singapore, the profession thrives. When night falls in Geylang, the girls are out in force, and their pimps are never too far behind. With a strong currency and a booming economy, many foreign girls flock to Singapore to meet the ever-growing demand for paid sex. It's a headache for the authorities, because prostitution is a grey area. Technically, it's illegal to pimp and solicit sex, but at the same time, it's tolerated because of the social needs. Striking that balance is not easy, but as Mr. Lee Kuan Yew said in his memoirs, if it is visible, it's containable. So exactly where does Singapore stand in terms of prostitution and the law? And are the girls free agents or trafficked? Last year, MP Christopher D'Souza was given the green light to introduce a private member's bill to prevent human trafficking. Although his proposed draft has been criticized for not going far enough, it is seen as a step in the right direction. There's also the ever-growing incidence of underage sex. Recently, in a high-profile case, more than 50 men were charged with having sex with an underage girl. But what does prostitution mean in today's society? The rise of compensated sex in exchange for presence with an underage person, is particularly worrisome. To discuss Singapore's less attractive side of life, we have a number of experts who will introduce themselves, starting with SALEEMAH.
My name is SALEEMAH ISMAIL. I'm a social activist. At the moment, currently, I am sitting on the board of SCWO, which stands for Singapore Council of Women Organisation, and I'm with the CEDAW committee. CEDAW, which stands for Convention of Eliminations of all forms of discriminations against women. But prior to that, since 2003, I have been a social activist, particularly in trafficking. So this is a sphere that I have been advocating and working to raise awareness of trafficking, as well as to...
Trafficking as in prostitution or in all kinds of human trafficking?
In human trafficking, but particularly sex trafficking, because I have, since 2003 until 2012, I have been the co-chair for the Anti-Trafficking Committee for the Singapore National Committee of UN Women. So we look particularly into sex trafficking of women and girls.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Timothy. I have studied human trafficking in Singapore academically. I walk the streets every Wednesday and I make friends with the people on the ground in the community in Geylang. So that includes some of the ladies and a lot of their handlers and the pimps as well. In addition to that, I work closely with a couple of NGOs in Singapore that focus on anti-human trafficking, especially sex trafficking. And what we do is we have a small coalition that seeks to strengthen one another and help one another out when there are deficiencies in resource or anything like that.
Thank you. And
Yeah.
BRAEMA MATHI.
Okay. Hello, hi, I'm BRAEMA MATHI. I have been involved in activism for a number of years, gender with aware, and I've been the chair of the CEDAW committee for about 8 years. Why I mentioned the CEDAW committee that SALEEMAH has also mentioned, because trafficking is a huge article in there and a lot of material was sent up to the UN on trafficking. The other thing is that I've also participated in the US International Visitors Program on Trafficking, which is a 3-week program to understand the law, to understand the support services, as well as to understand victim protection and all that kind of stuff. The other thing that I have done is I've been in Action for AIDS, which deals with the sex workers and their sexually transmitted diseases, and I also started a migrant NGO called Transient Workers Come Too. Therefore, when we talk about trafficking, I am interested in both sex trafficking as well as labor trafficking under the Palermo Protocol. And now I lead a human rights group called Marua, where we submitted the documents to the Human Rights Council under the Universal Periodic Review, and we lobbied quite hard for trafficking to be taken more seriously, and I think it was offered in Geneva by our state representative.
Okay, thank you. And we have a lawyer.
My name is SURESH Damodara. I am a lawyer. I'm a practicing lawyer. I'm a litigator by profession, and I've got a mixed legal practice, which also includes criminal law practice. And I have been interested in criminal law legislation, the new ones as well as the old ones, and I've been very much involved in giving feedback in respect of criminal law legislation, and I'm especially interested in the intended private members bill that Mr. Christopher D'Souza has been talking about to address trafficking in the country. So it's in that capacity that I'm participating in this panel discussion.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Shui.
Yes, hi, I'm Suhui. I'm a Tema Village volunteer.
Tema Village.
Tema
What is
Village
that?
volunteer, yes. And I help the street worker, Singaporean street worker in Geylang. So we have a skill center. We bring the street workers, if they're willing to want to change their life, to our place, that we help them. We have different skills to teach them. And we also, from there, we discover they have a need of education for their children. So we also have tuition to help the children's education. And from there, we develop to help the family needs. So we also help the family needs to, with legal things, certain things like to apply for HDB and all these such things to support their needs, and hopefully they can be able to come back to the society.